Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on the 7th day of November. Hope everybody's having a good Thursday, 7-11 day. Give you a quick prediction breakdown of the Ravens-Cincinnati tonight. Cincinnati, it's NFL. Anything can happen. Don't really like their chances. Give you my thoughts on that game. Jeffrey Deskovic will be here 30 minutes past the hour. We're going to get his thoughts on this New York Knicks team, the upgrades they made. A little bit of a rough start for the Knicks, but they're still getting a feel for their players, get his finals thoughts and whatnot. Also, let's see. I forgot to give you my Power 5 the other night on Tuesday. I had a lot going on Tuesday. I will give you that before I bring in Deskovic, of course. And looks like Florida. What a story. Florida's they're going to keep Billy Napier. It doesn't sound too crazy, and I'll give you my thoughts on that as well. Stand by. We'll take our first and only break. I'll be back here momentarily. We'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
All righty then. Now I'm back here live. Okay, quick take before the kickoff starts here. Cincinnati, Baltimore. A few weeks ago, Ravens came back and won against Cincinnati 41-38. Really high-scoring game there, which shows me, I made some notes here, that there was a sign that Cincinnati does not have the proper defensive personnel to compete with Baltimore or just about anybody else that's real contenders in the AFC, okay? And, of course, Tuesday was the NFL trade deadline, and they didn't do anything but added a running back when they needed defensive tackle. Now, it was rumored that they were trying to actively go out and seek and trade for a defensive tackle, but they didn't. Teams had called the Titans down here in Tennessee about tackle Jeffrey Simmons, and I thought to myself, yeah, this guy Mike Brown would never come off a first-round draft pick, even though they've got the team that can beat the Chiefs that's won 2 straight Super Bowls, going back to week 2 in the season. They had a shot to beat the Chiefs there at the very end. You could see they're a defensive player or two away from winning. And, of course, they didn't from competing and whatnot. They didn't do it. Joe Burrow's growing more and more frustrated. As I said before, he needs to just simply play out this contract. At this point, with Mike Brown running this Bengals team, the owner's been there. He's about Jerry Jones, maybe a little older than Jerry Jones, in his 80s here. They're not going to make any proper moves to upgrade this roster. As far as tonight, Orlando Brown's out. Their left tackle, he was out Sunday against the Raiders, but that's the Raiders. This is a different animal. This game is at Baltimore. T. Higgins also out of this game. This game is played in Baltimore. It's a 5.5-point spread. With Baltimore being the 5.5-point favorites, I see this as being a 34-17 game. And, man, Cincinnati really needs this game. And, quite frankly, Baltimore does. They're still a game back of this Pittsburgh in this division. This is going to be a 2-team division, and that's going to be a fun little back and forth to follow. Steelers, Ravens coming up. And, of course, Steelers got a huge game this weekend as well. They're going to play, I want to say they're playing at home against the Commanders. That will be a game that myself and the Mad New Yorker will break down. Here's a few side notes. On the Baltimore side, on the winners' side, Lamar Jackson, I didn't know this, but he is 9-1 against the Bengals. 74.5 yards rushing per game average against Cincinnati. It's most by any quarterback versus a single opponent since 1950 with 10 starts. Wow. Man, what an impressive feat there. In particular, Joe Burrow, he's 5-1 against. Here's some interesting tidbits. Derrick Henry, like I said before, he could actually legitimately, even at 31-year-old running back, this is really interesting, could legitimately be an MVP candidate. Compared to 4 years ago here in Tennessee, 126 yards per game in 2020, 4 years ago, 116 now. Touchdowns per game, 1.22. He averaged more touchdowns with Baltimore. Yards per attempt, 5.4 with Tennessee, 6.3 with Baltimore. He's actually doing better. Now, not yards per game, though, but he's got more touchdowns and more yards per attempt. Tennessee just fed him the ball. It's very throwback, old school Earl Campbell type of stuff that Tennessee did back in the day with Derrick Henry. I mean, I didn't think he was going to have this good a season, to be honest with you. I didn't like their formations, but hey, man, he come in tip-top shape. They're using him right. The blocking scheme's right. Kudos to the Ravens. Okay. NFL Power 5. I got so sidetracked with the NFL trade deadline that I didn't even get you all my Power 5 coming into this week. So let's go back over it. Not too much difference from last week, but we shall start here. Go with the Power 5. What I did, I just went back to last week's notes and made just a few quick adjustments. Washington, number 2 seed in the NFC. They continue to roll. Big game again. They got to play Pittsburgh this week. Again, 10th points in defense. They added. I mentioned a fact on Tuesday, one of the bigger free trade deadline ads in Marshawn Lattimore, a true number 1 at corner there. Jalen Daniels, second in completion percentage, a lock for Rookie of the Year. Again, like I said, second in the NFC. They're rolling certain teams right now. Does not look like that rib injury is really bothering Jaden Daniels that much. Good win there against the Giants. Got them at number 5. Number 4, Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh also, again, I mentioned this on Tuesday, love the addition of Preston Smith. Actually like that addition better than Mike Williams. They got Mike Williams over from the Jets, Preston Smith over from Green Bay. But even before that, they had 4th and run defense, 2nd total defense. This is the best defense they've had in quite some time, several years. I've got them number 4. Wilson, 3 touchdowns, no picks, fitting in really, really good. Love this offense. I think they play well, but we'll see. I have to break down the injury report on that Washington game coming up on tomorrow with the Mad New Yorker. And, of course, Buffalo, I got them at 3. Getting healthy, of course, I mentioned the fact Ed Oliver, Terrell Brand, 5th in points, 11 in turnover differential, 1st in NFL, coming off 2 big blowouts. And, of course, they had a tight one against Miami. Now, you can see Miami is a totally different team with Tua. They've got a few defensive players they didn't add themselves. Miami's lucky to even have their head above water at this point. But I got Buffalo at 3. Probably got them a little too high, considering the fact that the Ravens came back strong last week and blew out Denver. But of course, number 2, obviously Detroit. Just another great win. Mentioned that 3 touchdown lead at one time against a very highly potent Green Bay offense at Green Bay. I was really impressed by that. Talked about this on Monday. Remind me of the 92 Cowboys with the physicality up front. And somebody said, hey, their defense is not as good as Cowboys. Yeah, they do get thrown on it sometimes, but they got 2 ball hogs there. Pick 6 by Kirby Joseph there, the pick 6, and of course Brian Branch. He got kicked out of the game. Probably going to get a fine there for targeting. But got some playmakers. Of course, they added Darius Smith on the NFL trade deadline a couple days ago on Tuesday. And, of course, Kansas City, 8-0. Hopkins, 2 touchdowns already. And like I said, the 2 touchdowns, that's 1 more touchdown in 2 games than he did having 6 with Tennessee. He's fitting in really well. Looks like they're already got the edge in that trade with Tennessee, where Tennessee basically is going to get back a 5th-round pick, not unless they make it to the Super Bowl. He plays the 60% of the snaps here. And, of course, top 5 in total defense, best coach-quarterback combo in the league with Andy Reid and, of course, Patrick Mahomes. So, number 1, Kansas City. Number 2, Detroit. 3, Buffalo. That's questionable, I know. 4, Pittsburgh. 5, Washington. Maybe I put Baltimore back in to this thing. Maybe I put them back in after tonight, put them above Washington since they did beat Washington. But, man, at Baltimore, you cannot lose to teams like Cleveland, okay? You just can't be a top 5 team. You still have some vulnerabilities. I know the Ravens added Tre'Davious White, an older player, often been injured at his last end of his career. That's why Buffalo let him go. Okay, so that's the Power 5. Gave you the breakdown. Gave you all the breakdown of the Ravens-Cincinnati. Could be a good game. Maybe Cincinnati gets lucky. They will have to get a couple of fluke turnovers to win this game. Other than that, I mean, I like the Ravens. It's just really frustrating to see Burrow have to go through this with this notoriously cheap owner, in my opinion. Okay, before I forget, story out today in the college game, folks. Billy Napier. Yes, you heard that right. Florida is sticking with Billy Napier. Now, you hear stuff like this all the time. We're going to stick with him. He's fine. He's safe. And in the pro game and the college game, and then a few games go south towards the end of the season, and then you say, okay, well, by the way, they play Texas this weekend. I don't know if things going to get any better or not. But, and then all of a sudden, the guy gets fired. That being said, I know they were 5-7 last year, but one bright spot, and I watched that Georgia game. I went back and watched it all the way up to the part where this DJ Legway, I'm pretty sure I'm messing up his name here, is actually a bright spot. He is a true freshman quarterback here. Yeah, DJ Legway, I'm sorry. Yeah, true freshman quarterback, came in the Miami game because he had multiple injuries there. Graham Mertz has got in there. And as the season, this was a highly sought-after quarterback, by the way, one of the best in the country. This was from this, like I said, this guy is a true freshman. You know, people think, well, what about Nico in Tennessee? He's actually a redshirt freshman. Okay, he played last year, or he was already in the system and played in the bowl game last year. He's technically a sophomore. Okay. Second year guy or whatever. But Legway, if you think about it, they had this team. They sent Tennessee. Look how good Tennessee's defense is. They sent Tennessee. He made a heck of a throw to get Florida into overtime against Tennessee. And look how good Tennessee's defense has played against Alabama. I think they held Alabama to 17 points. Who would have thought that? You know? But they lose that game, but they beat blew out Kentucky. Said, well, that ain't a big deal. Kentucky has beat them 3 straight years in a row. They blew out Kentucky, and last week against Georgia, gave all Georgia everything they can handle on. Like then again, I understand Carson Beck 3 more interceptions for Carson Beck there with Georgia. His stock is following. His stock is falling like the Titanic right now, you know. But that being said, this guy is a talented quarterback. You could see they've got something going into next year with him, with this Legway guy. And I guess that Florida's looking at it and saying, well, Napier, do we really want Legway to go into a different system here? Would he, since he's here under Napier, Billy Napier, would he transfer to another program? So it's almost like, and that's the only thing that's keeping them here. You know, they're 4-4. They play. They might beat Texas. I don't think they will, but they might. You know, they might beat Texas. I think Legway is going to come back and play this game. I haven't seen anything injury. I know he got knocked out. I don't know if that was concussion or what, but I didn't catch all the details of that. But this guy's pretty good. He's pretty talented. And these coaches, these players like to play with coaches they're familiar with. Now, and maybe a lock that the guy would leave. I said at the in the off season, numerous times here on the program, that I thought that Florida may that they will fire Napier to be a lock, and they would end up going after Deion Sanders. Now, when you're starting to look at some of the fallouts Deion's had with the media and everything, and the blowout losses, the loss to Nebraska, and compared to what happened last year, plus the stuff about playing the rap music for his son, scoring touchdowns or whatever, which he denies. He instructed the band not to play. They've been on a winning streak, and they're pushing up on bowl eligible right now. I think they've only got one loss here. The team's looking a lot better, and he would look like a great candidate for Florida State. Now, I don't know if Florida State, it's just one bad year there, Mike Norvell. But Florida, I still think there is still a chance. There's still a chance that Florida could renege on this and again say, we'll go ahead and fire the guy. But as of today, they're saying we're going to roll with Napier, So we'll see how that thing plays out. But if you're a Florida fan, you're starting to see this guy. Like he looks really talented, and things are picking up really quickly for him as a quarterback. That stuff, it's hard to do. So all that being said, they keep Napier. I'm sure the schedule couldn't get any harder than it was this year. They played Miami, Texas, at Tennessee. I mean, that is Texas A&M. They've already lost A&M. They've got 4 losses already, So, this was historically, this is the hardest schedule I've ever seen in history of the game. And that is no exaggeration with Florida. So, pretty interesting story there. Kind of went through this stuff pretty quickly today. Now, Jeffrey Deskovic will be on the program here in just a few minutes here. And I know didn't have a show yesterday. Told you I could be up late and really tired coming into the program on Wednesday. I was up late, like a lot of us. I know that election was a big deal. However you feel about that, one way or the other, my advice to people is, the truth of the matter is, most of us have more in common than we do. It's uncommon, that's indifferent. And it's best not to talk to your friend. And I've got quite a few friends on both sides of the aisle, and what I could see from what I'm reading and seeing, and I know that our media likes to, and personalities and whatnot on both sides, they like to hype up things and gaslight. That you want to hear that term, gaslighting and everything. My thing is, just don't talk down the people you disagree with, And quite frankly, I've got a bachelor's degree in communication. I've read a lot. I've lived in different areas of the country. But there's people who's not went to college. One guy in particular I work with, nice guy, good guy. He never went to college anywhere, he told me. And really smart guy, had a huge vocabulary, and I would consider that guy smarter than me. And I read a lot, but not as avid reader as he was. You wouldn't think he was a smart guy because big bodybuilder looking guy. But after I got talking to him, working with him one night, and he's a fellow supervisor, it's like, this dude's a smart dude, man. I said, you never went to school nowhere? Nah, I just read a lot, We were talking about the World War II and everything, and what he thought was true and not true about it, and some of the stuff he was showing me, working a late shift, overnight shift, And then there's other people they've got masters, they've got, what do you ever call it, the PhD, where they're called doctors, but they're not medical doctors. And a lot of those people would ask me stuff, how to do this and how to do that, because, I'm a medical carrier. And a lot of those people, I tell you, they may have a lot more than me on paper, education-wise, but there's a lot of educated idiots out there too. So it's not always about how much schooling you got and whatnot. My whole point is, stuff is really divisive because people like to talk. You think that by talking down to somebody that you're going to win them over to your political arguments. And really, it's just a bunch of sniping back and forth. Respect people. And there's a really good guy I work with, and I know me and him are totally opposite politically. And I actually thought we were the same, but you know what? He figured out where I stood, and I figured out where he stood. And this guy were really cool on Wednesday morning. And today, just as nice guys. I mean, we're both pleasant people to be around. And I wanted to tell him, man, I like you. You're a class personified, brother. And there's other people that just want to snipe back and forth. And I've seen, and there's been some sportscasters, sports talk show hosts that's taking some shots here. And I wanted to, But I just pulled back. I said, no, if I'm going to say this, if I'm going to be classy about it, if I'm telling everybody else, I want to say anything to this person. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that it's the best to do that and respect other people's opinion and just agree and disagree. You know, people, like I said, work, church, school, family, whatever. It's like that around the country. You know, the former president was president before, and then his, the opposing party is currently in the administration. Nobody's going to fall over and bleed to death, no matter what you hear from the media. Either way, contrary of what you may be saying, it's never as bad or than one would think. And that was like a little PSA. Since Jeffrey hasn't got in yet, I wanted to get out of the way. Like I said, I don't care which side you're on. I got friends on both sides, and from old friends, new friends, and stuff like that. And it is what it is. But I'll say this. There are some good college games on this weekend, too. Speaking of switching gears here, which I will talk about tomorrow with the Mad New Yorker. That LSU-Alabama game, Paul Feinbaum was saying that if Alabama don't win this game, and people are calling in his show, if Alabama don't win this, which is down in LSU, it's at nighttime. LSU plays great down there. That the fans in year one, think how spoiled they are in year one, wanting to do away with Keelan DeBoer. And that game's going to be on Saturday night. Now, I'll have to look and see if I can get anything on the injury report. Tough to win down there in Baton Rouge. Alabama's defense is suspect at times. They're just not consistent enough. But LSU's beatable. We saw that against Texas A&M a few weeks ago. Was it last week that A&M lost on the road to South Carolina? I didn't see that coming. It's really hard to tell what these teams are going to do. Some teams are world beaters at home. For example, LSU beat Ole Miss at home. Man, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't win that game tomorrow at home. And then they go on the road and look how mediocre that USC is right now. USC beat them and looked decisively better, in my opinion, than LSU. And now this was week one, but that was at a neutral, I wouldn't call it a neutral site game, but it was supposedly, technically, in air quotes, at a neutral site game. It was played in Vegas. It was closer to USC than it was LSU. And you all saw the game just like I did. I mean, USC was going, but USC's lost to Minnesota now. They've lost to Penn State now. They lost to Michigan. That was, by the way, I was just finishing up watching that Oregon game, Michigan. I was going to get on here and say, well, Michigan's pretty close. They kept it close to about the second quarter. And then when Oregon went up 28-10, I said, okay, well, never mind. Dylan Gabriel's going to be in the Heisman conversation along with who was it? Cam Howard? Cam Ward. It's going to be with Cam Ward there. And, of course, Travis Hunter with Colorado. Those are your top three. Or four. There you go. You got Gabriel. You got Cam Ward. Them two right there. Two teams that are undefeated, per se. And then you got Travis Hunter, a phenomenal player that's playing both sides of the ball at a very high level. And some mock drafts have already got him as a number one draft pick overall. I think he could possibly go to a team like with New England's got the number one pick as we speak. Let's see where Jeffrey is here. He's sent him the link to his email, and we are looking right now in case he didn't send me something back saying that he didn't get it. But either way, again, Power 5, not really changed from last week. If Baltimore wins tonight, they'll make their way back into it. I mean, Baltimore really played well against Denver last week, and really it was kind of more of an indictment on Denver, saying that this Denver team is just not quite ready for prime time yet, if you know what I mean. Let's see. Last Tuesday, folks. Yeah, what did I say for that Power 5 here? And I mentioned Houston and Baltimore for honorable mention as well for that Power 5. Now, Houston's got a good one coming up this weekend, too. We'll be breaking that down. They're going to play Detroit. Some are saying if an outside shot comes in, maybe that is it's outside shot. Maybe that's a Super Bowl preview. What's going on, Nigel? Good to see you there, my friend from down under. Just waiting on my guest to come in right now, and we'll talk a little round ball. There he is. Let me go ahead and change my background there. Check out here. Hey, Jeffrey, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Robert. Great to be back on the Sports Scope, man. It's been a while. Man.
Yeah, I was just thinking about you when you sent me that funny message there, man. That ain't none of my people. The Tombstone.
for our viewers, I was in Buffalo, Forest Hill Cemetery, and as I'm walking through, because it's considered to be kind of a historical place, a lot of famous people.
Oh, really?
A lot of famous people are buried there. In fact, earlier I attended a lecture there that same day from 2 to 3:30. Famous people on the avenue. The avenue, of course, being a reference to Delaware Avenue. And as I'm walking, trying to find some of the more famous tombstones, I saw some people there named as Butler. So I thought about that. Had to take
you remember that commercial, Jeffrey? What do you want on your tombstone? I don't know, pepperoni and onion.
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah. I do actually. Yeah, that was hilarious. Hey, I saw somebody else's there name too, but I have a thing for that. When I'm walking around in different places, I'm not limited to a cemetery. If I see anything that has somebody's first name or last name, I snap the photo, I quickly send it to them, and it's worth a couple of laughs, and it's a way of saying hello to to acquaintances and stuff like that. People with friendly interaction.
Yeah. Nigel says that. Oh, this is my friend. He's from Australia watching the program.
Oh, wow.
That's from down under, like Don King would say.
Yeah. Well, I remember they have I was in Las Vegas and I saw the billboard. It was a female review show, and it was called, I had a bunch of these guys that are, they're all Adonises there, like 4 or 5 of them together, and it says they're, Thunder from down under. So I'll say that and leave it exactly there. But something, hilarious for sure. Lots of good NBA players from some, and not a lot. I say some good players.
Andrew Bogut.
Andrew Bogut, Luke Longley. In fact, he was good enough. He had a documentary. He didn't feel like enough attention. I think he's right. There wasn't really enough attention to him on other players on The Last Dance. So he had the documentary made.
Well, I love The Last Dance. I've seen it 4 or 5 times. I've been meaning to get your opinion. I just got so busy with everything else. What do you think about Karl Anthony Towns with the Knicks? It's kind of a rough start, but they're just trying to get things worked out. What's your thoughts, Jeffrey?
He did get out to a very slow start. Like about 3 games in a row, he only scored 12, and you don't trade Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo for someone that's going to give you 12 points a game.
Yeah.
But he had the breakout game in Miami, and he's put up some good numbers overall. 21 points a game, 13 rebounds. 51% shooting from the field, 57 a gawking 57% from 3. I mean, oh my God! I think that he was a great fit. I mean, look, he doesn't need to play with the ball in his hands. That's the opposite of Julius Randle.
True.
But Brunson needs the ball. So I feel like Towns fits in more with them. He is the Knicks' answer at center. Cat can play obviously the 5. He's 7 feet, but could also play the 4. He was doing that in Minnesota, teamed up with Rudy Gobert. However, the converse can't be said of Julius Randle. Julius cannot play the 5. He can only play the 4. So
yes,
I like the trade for the Knicks. I mean, look, they gave up a lot. I mean, I love Dante DiVincenzo. I feel like he really came to life in New York. I mean, I guess the year with the Splash Brothers, really paid off but DiVincenzo, he averaged 15 a game. Nobody, he was like a hustle guy, and he was somebody that he was good at making the pass that led to the pass that was an assist. Moving the ball around, hustle, he'll give you some rebounding. But he really flourished in New York, man. The 15 a game, he made 283 threes.
But did you see those reports? He wasn't happy in New York as we were led to believe originally. He wasn't with the whole Villanova.
He wasn't feeling. I didn't know that he wasn't with the whole Villanova and the NBA crowd. That didn't work for him, huh?
Yeah, I was shocked too, man. I thought, we just go, with these media narratives, and then you find out later on he wasn't down with it. Well, you don't want a guy that's being unhappy there. It seems like Towns, I mean, like you said, 44 against, was it last week against Miami?
Right, and his stats overall are 21 a game. So, it kind of evens out in terms of an average. I mean, obviously we'll see how it plays out the rest of the season.
Debbie Downer. Don't forget about that comment.
yeah, maybe I went a little too close to the R there on that. But
yeah, he's living up there. He's mad New Yorker, Jeffrey.
Yeah, but the thing that worries me a little bit about the Knicks, and I am a big Knicks fan, and I loved. I mean, we basically getting Mikal Bridges, for 5 first-round picks, traded a pick swap also with Brooklyn. I mean, were any of those players either individually or collectively, were any of them going to turn out to be as good as Mikal Bridges? I mean, I don't think so. So I like that move, but still, I mean, a lot of the players, I mean, DiVincenzo had a lot to do with the magic of the Knicks postseason run last year. So did the center. I forgot his name is leaving me now. The really tall center.
Oh, he left in free agency, didn't he?
He left in free agency. Yeah. He went to, I believe he went
Carlos,
to Oklahoma. Went to Oklahoma City. But he was a big part. I mean, he started out as a backup. He was backing up Mitchell Robinson, which, I mean, just in the playoffs. I don't know if he just got better in the season.
Hardison. Thank you.
Hartenstein. Right. But I mean, Hartenstein was clearly so much better than Mitchell was anyway. But my point being that Hartenstein and DiVincenzo were a big part of the Knicks' magic in the playoffs. Our Towns and Mikal Bridges, are they going to replicate that? I mean, clearly they're better players than them overall. I don't know if they're going to be, as gritty or as clutch.
Yeah, that's true. Now, I just get a sense that it's just early. It just seems like they're trying to work that new chemistry in. The bigger the player, the bigger name, it seems like the longer it takes for them to get acclimated into the new system. It's rare, Jeffrey. You've been watching this a long time. For players, we saw what LeBron and Dwayne Wade, they were friends, and they still couldn't get it figured out that first year. I hope that's not the case with the Knicks. I want to see them go on a big run this year,
Yeah, I do too. And look, clearly the Knicks management does as well. I mean, they all their moves are of a let's win now type mindset. So the Knicks definitely do. I mean, the thing that worries me a little bit about the Knicks, I don't. I mean, is there enough around them? I mean, questions about the bench. I mean, there's not really anything there. It makes me. I mean, it's not quite as bad as what the situation in Phoenix was. You had the big three.
Nothing.
Beal, Durant, and the shooting guard, Devin Booker. but there really wasn't enough around them, and that's, why they fell early, actually, kind of in a surprising way. But my point being, I hope that the Knicks are not the Eastern version of it. Now, granted, I think the Knicks starting five is better overall than what Phoenix's starting five was. So it's not like three. I mean, it's really legitimately four guys that are going to give you the scoring and a lot of hustle plays, in Josh Hart. But still, is there enough overall? Is there enough? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, but there's not a lot of cap room left either.
I was going to ask you how far you think they can go. Do you see this being an issue? And I've talked about this with Mad New Yorker Carlos, who comes on Fridays. He's always made a good point about this. Thibodeau wearing out his starters and not playing that bench enough. And then we have a situation like we had last year and a few years before that, where you start getting guys going down in the playoffs. They're injured.
Yeah, I do. I do think that that's an issue with Tibbs. I don't like that he overplays the starters. I mean, if you looked at some of those games in that thrilling series against the Pacers, a lot of those guys that weren't getting to play in general, they were playing really good.
Yeah.
When they were forced, when he had no choice but to play them. Precious was playing. I'm not going to comment on a man being called Precious, but Precious
was holding the laugh,
Precious, I know. Precious played really well in the playoffs when he got in there. Some of the other guys, so there was another guy even less so that he was a forward. He gave him like 15 in Game 7, and it made me wonder. Why not play these guys? Why not have played those guys the whole way through? Save your starters. I mean, you can't play all the minutes of the play. Most of the overwhelming majority of minutes of the playoffs, and you're going to do that in the regular season, and think that people aren't going to get aren't going to get hurt. Yeah.
I just don't recall back in the 90s this many stars being injured. I wasn't worried about Michael Jordan or Patrick Ewing getting injured and you just mentioned the Suns. And maybe players are just playing longer now, and I'm just not keeping up with these ages. But, I mean, the Suns fall apart every year. We talked about the Knicks falling apart. Is it the low management? Is it too much stuff going on in the off season? What do you count for that, man?
Well, in part, I think that the league is much better. From top to bottom, talent wise, and so you're competing against higher level opponents. Now you have to play more minutes, in order to keep up. I think that
the tempo might be higher, faster, I guess.
Yes, yeah, it is, and it is, running up and down. It is running a lot up and down the court. I think everything in the NBA is a fast break now. Everything's a fast break. I mean, honestly speaking, I mean, I get more thrill out of the game, and when it's half court offense being played, pick and roll, pick and fade, move without the ball, give and go, cut, that type of thing. Pass the ball, everybody touches the ball, move it around, that type of thing. Kind of. I guess I'm the basketball version of Tim Duncan, right? The big fundamental.
I like that basketball.
Yes, I do too. But I think that excessive running up and down the court. I mean, maybe that could be an aspect to it. But I don't feel like any of these things that we've mentioned is the whole picture. I think it's part of it. I don't think it's the complete. I don't think that's the complete answer.
Yeah, and I was thinking about Kawhi Leonard. He's hurt every single year.
Kawhi is always. You know who else is always hurt every year? Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal is always hurt. John Wall still hasn't recovered for what? John Wall hasn't been John Wall in at least 3 years.
I'm thinking he may retire.
He should retire.
Joel Embiid,
Yeah. Oh, Joel Embiid is always. Yeah. I mean, Jesus, for somebody that puts up the kind of numbers that he did in that thrilling loss to the Knicks. I mean, I shudder to think what would have happened if he. I shudder to think what would have happened if he wasn't hurt. If he wasn't hurt. But
Do
he's
you
another.
see this Knicks team making a run? I mean, I just get a sense they're going to get it together and be back in
Yeah,
the
I
Eastern
do. I
Conference.
do. I do think they're going to get a run. I think they're probably one role player away
Okay.
from beating the Celtics. I do think they're a third round team right now. They get one more. But look, sometimes you players clear waivers. People get cut. They find players from overseas, or one person or another makes a comeback. I think that there's a number of ways where they could, or maybe somebody from the D League, is a possibility. I think they can find. I think they can find one more player. Maybe Tibbs will actually play some of that hidden talent on the on the bench. But
got your big basketball guy. What do you 9-0? Do you see this Cavs being that team that kind of gets like a OKC run like last year? OKC came out of nowhere. They got the number 1 seed. Or is this just they got hot earlier and they'll fade later on? They've got a new coach, Kenny Atkinson. What do you think about this Cavs start? Well, they look sharp, don't they?
They do look sharp. They do look sharp. I mean, I could see them. I could see them going, getting to the second round and making some noise there, being a really, being a difficult out. I mean, the Knicks with all their injuries were real difficult out. OKC in the West last year was looking at them. I mean, Hartenstein was big, man. I mean, again, can he, is he going to be able to, can he fit in with them? But they gave the Mavericks a hell of a series. I mean, that could very easily have went the other way, and they, rebounding became a problem for them with the Mavericks. Two young guys, PJ, and then the rookie. Lively was very lively on the boards. I mean,
wasn't he?
Yeah,
I was really impressed with the moves that team has made. Let me see here before I get to that.
But also, I think Klay Thompson. I think Klay going to the Mavericks. I think that was good for the Mavericks. I think that was good for Klay. I mean, Klay needs to be like a Sam Cassell figure when Cassell was with the Rockets off the bench. I mean, sometimes he can give you some timely scoring. He can't be a guy you consistently rely on. Just he could come in the game and at times he's hot, and so you can ride with him. But then when he's cold, you go back to the bench. He's not one of them people that you rely on. I mean, I think that's the right place for him at this point in his career. I don't think he really was willing to, accept that in Golden State. I mean, certainly Golden State realized that they didn't want to, overpay for him. And I think he caught feelings about this. So kind of another example in a way of a player not being happy, but of course, Klay not needing the trade, just being able to leave. Yeah. But I think it was a nice pickup for Dallas. Also, I mean, another outside scorer from Kyrie and Luka.
I think so too.
Basket penetrating, he could be a good spot up shooter.
Do you see this Golden State team? They've got off to a really good start. Is this sustainable with their age?
I don't believe so. No. Okay. I don't think so. No, I think that I think getting to the second round would be a good season for Golden State right now. I mean, really, they gotta think. Do they want to win now with Curry, or either win now with Curry and you got to trade for somebody, an impact player, or pick one up, or else trade Curry. And you could facilitate your rebuilding. You can get two or three pieces for him.
What do you think about Denver? Seems like they're a player short. I thought Westbrook was going to work out. They got a big win the other night over OKC, but Westbrook's like plus minus 37. Is Denver going to just be stuck with one championship with Joker, or?
It's looking that way. It is looking that way. I mean, I don't think he really fits in. I mean, Joker's somebody. I mean, they want Murray to have the ball all the time and Joker to have the ball, and that's worked well for them. But LeBron works with the ball all the time, and he didn't work out. He didn't work out with Westbrook because that Westbrook needs the ball all the time as well. So I think that they are going to be stuck with what did they really do to to get ahead of Minnesota? I mean, you try to get ahead of the team to beat you. I don't really see where they did anything really they just kind of like stayed pat, except they did the one move, but then I don't think that really was the right move.
It's disappointing. What do you think about them maybe moving to Michael Porter Jr.?
Yeah,
he's their only really viable asset, I think.
He is their only real viable asset, but I mean, what would you get back for him though? That's the thing.
I mentioned maybe going after a Zach LaVine.
There didn't seem to be a lot of a big market for Zach LaVine. He's got that ungodly contract. There's the perception he's really just, he'll score a lot for you, but he's not.
Brandon Ingram per se, who's more consistent than Michael Porter Jr.
Okay.
Those guys have been mentioned in trade. That's why I was just throwing that out. I know you follow the league.
I do. I think that the Bronny thing, is somewhat ridiculous. I think
that's true. He's already in the G League.
They tried to force it. I mean, I had read, I don't know if it's correct, but Saudi Arabia was said to be, have offered him $1 billion to go over there. And
oh, wow.
I'd have took the $1 billion and went over there and paid, and
just don't behead me if I don't get a triple double.
But,
that's 6 cents.
To pass that up though, to play. I mean, he's not an NBA player.
No.
He's not. I don't think he's really going to become good enough to be a star. I mean, I'm not. He might be. I mean, maybe he could get to be like an 8th or 9th player on the roster, but I see that that's
still
really
hasn't developed though. Like you said, we'll see who do you got in the finals this year, man? Since it's early in the season, as of to now, forget about the trades or anything. If nobody makes any big blockbusters,
okay. So I'm going to go on a limb. I'm going to go on a limb here a little bit. I'm going to say. I'm going to gamble and think that the Knicks are going to pick up a player, maybe two, to beef up their bench a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with the Knicks. I say the Mavericks get back. And they will face off against the Knicks.
Who will win?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think I still think the Mavericks are I think the Mavericks are probably the deeper team.
Yeah.
So I think the Mavericks get back, and this time they win. Kind of like the Pistons. Remember, they lost in '88 and got back in '89 and won, and then they won in '90.
Again in '90. So you're like me. You don't think that was a fluke at all last year with Dallas?
No, I absolutely do not think that was a fluke at all. No, there's too many real players on that team. I mean, the idea of having Kyrie and Luka.
Yeah.
I mean, that trade initially didn't work out. In that first season. Remember, they missed the playoffs on like the last day of the season. But man, they went all the way back to they got in next year and went all the way to the finals. I still don't understand how the hell they got beat like that. I mean, that was crazy. I guess the results don't lie, but I don't see how the Celtics beat them like that and so decisively. I still don't.
Great chemistry. I mean, they just. I had the Celtics, Jeffrey, in Dallas, but I had Dallas beating the Celtics. Look at Al Horford's age. Look at the injury history with Porzingis. And you're right, Derek Lively, another year with Lively as a big, and that Gafford guy, that's the other big.
Yeah.
They got a lot of the good play. And I would lean into P.J. Washington. And for some reason, I thought that Kyrie was he's only like 31. So he's still got some prime year left in him, you know?
Yeah, he does. He definitely has some prime years left.
Yeah.
In him for sure. Yeah, and I'm sure you know that he would love to win. You know, he'd love to win a championship one without LeBron.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know,
we're on the same page there. I would like to see the Knicks do it. I think they could potentially do something as well. It just depends on if they can add that other player and Thibodeau not wear these guys out, man, and play the whole bench.
Yeah. You know, I mean, if they have a flop this year, I think if they have a flop, you know, if they don't at least get to the third round, I mean, I think it's time to show. I think it'll be time to show Thibs the door. You know, bring somebody.
I can respect that. Me too.
Yeah, bring somebody else in. I mean, who the somebody would be? I mean, I'm not really clear at this point, but I'm not so sure he's the answer anymore, though.
Right. Well, look how good Kenny Atkinson is doing with the Cleveland Cavs. You know. Well, what you working on? Plug the foundation. I've got it at the bottom of the screen. I see you on doing speeches all the time on Facebook.
Thank you. Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is we exonerate them. You know, the foundation, of course, is a nonprofit organization I started. We exonerate people wrongfully in prison, do policy changes aimed at preventing that. Overall, have freed 15 people. I've passed 9 laws. Of course, I started the organization after I survived the 16 years wrongfully incarcerated myself before DNA proved my innocence. So the biggest thing we did is about a month ago, we helped exonerate Thomas Schaefer in Broome County. He had been wrongfully convicted of 4th-degree grand larceny, so we helped to exonerate him. We're moving ahead with some other cases. We're hoping within this year that we'll exonerate maybe 2 to 4 people, but a couple of the cases have moved ahead, and I think that one of them is inevitable. So I'm working on those. Those are the biggest things. And look, this a shout out to this company called LC. You heard it here first on the Sports Scope. Haven't even posted pictures or a word of it, but they held a fundraising event. For a whole month, rather. It was for a whole month. They had signs up on their store and, you know, on the cash register when customers would come in and purchase things. And, you know, the staff had a whole little spiel they were encouraging that they were giving to customers. So at point of sale, people were donating $1. And then, you know, and then also, you know, the company itself donated some money. So over the course of a month, we got a nice, great, big $1,000 check. You know, when you, like an organization gets a big check or you win the lottery. So I went up
Price
there.
Is Right.
Yeah. So we're going to post that. You know, we're hoping that we get other businesses to do that. So look, if you run a business, you own a business, you know someone that does, put a plug in their ear, you know, ask them to consider doing something like that. Run, you know, sales promotion for maybe a month or maybe even lesser than that, but encouraging people at the point of sale. I mean, look, I get hit all the time, Rob. When I go to stores and, hey, you want to round up for cancer or, you know, this issue, that issue. I mean, I just spent a bunch of money anyway. Grocery store. I'll round up. Hey, you want $1? Take $1. I'm not any richer or poorer for it. So I get hit all the time that way, but I feel good, and it doesn't matter because I'm in the mood. You know, I just spent. So maybe that could be a key. So looking to replicate that. So I'm hoping to get more people. You'll see some posts on it. Look, thanks for having me on, man. It's always a blast.
Hey, you guys are like angels, you know? Saving
I love being able to talk sports. I love being able to talk sports. I mean, normally if I go on a show, I got to talk. I talk my story. I talk wrongful conviction. I got to talk justice reform. Here I can just relax a little bit and just talk some sports, man.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you what, if something big happens, feel free to reach out and we'll come on, especially the Knicks make another big move. And if you Philip, we'll talk the Giants or whatever, any New York teams other than hockey. I can't talk. I don't know that much about hockey, but you know what I'm getting at.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Well, look, for sure. We'll do a playoff preview for sure.
Yeah. Hey, man, anything can happen between. I think the deadline is in February. So you know how it is. Big things happen in the NBA, man.
I certainly do. Well, thanks so much for having me on the
All right, buddy. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Jeffrey Deskovic, everybody. I'm going to wrap up the show. Hopefully I'll have this mad New Yorker. Thank you, Wesley, for coming on the program. I will be checking out. Wesley, I'm definitely going to have you on a program here in the short next week or so, hopefully. I have not forgot about that. Thank you, Kathy, as always. And tomorrow I'll be here with the Bad New Yorker going over this week's biggest games in NFL and college football. Have a good night, everybody. Great crowd again tonight.